My daughter-in-law posted a TikTok saying, "My mother-in-law doesn't do anything anymore. It's her duty to take care of the house and the kids." She laughed as people applauded her honesty. I just smiled and closed the app. I decided to teach her a lesson she would never forget. When she came home, she couldn't believe what she was seeing. I never thought it would end up like this. That at the age of 68, with hands scarred from 4 decades of honest work, I would be sitting in the living room of my own house, watching thousands of strangers laugh at me. It was a Thursday afternoon. I remember the scent of cinnamon from the coffee I had just brewed, the sound of birds out on the deck. I had just finished cleaning the entire house, as always, and sat down in my armchair, the one I bought 20 years ago, that still held its navy blue color because I treated it like silk. I picked up my phone. I'm not one of those old ladies who can't use technology. I taught myself by watching tutorials and asking my neighbor Gladys. My granddaughter Kyla had shown me how to use TikTok, to look at recipes and cat videos, simple things that made me smile. But that day, the algorithm showed me something different. I saw Jasmine's face, my daughter-in-law, smiling into the camera with that smile I once thought was genuine. She was wearing a pink blouse I had given her for her birthday. The video started with a catchy tune, and her speaking directly to the screen. "Y'all want to know the best thing about having a mother-in-law?" she said in a sing-song voice, raising her eyebrows as if about to tell the joke of the year. My heart didn't suspect a thing yet. "I don't have to do a single thing around the house," she continued, and my stomach clenched. The camera panned to show my kitchen, where I had just washed the breakfast dishes they'd left behind. I was visible from the back, wearing my yellow floral apron, the one I've used for years because it reminds me of when my husband, Richard, was still alive. "My mother-in-law doesn't have anything else going on in her life," Jasmine said mockingly. "So it's her duty to take care of the house and the kids. I mean, what else is she gonna do? Sit around watching TV all day?" She laughed, the same laugh I knew from family dinners and Sunday afternoons. But now it sounded cruel. The comments loaded onto my screen. Thousands. "LOL, you're right. That's what grandmothers are for. Get it, girl? Let the old folks work. Oh yeah, I gotta earn that keep." Something broke inside me. It wasn't loud or dramatic, it was worse. Like when your favorite teacup falls and shatters quietly, leaving you staring at the pieces on the floor. My hands trembled as I held the phone. 63,000 likes, 800 comments, thousands of shares. I had become the afternoon's entertainment for people who didn't know me, who didn't know what I'd built, sacrificed, or given. I closed the app, but the image stayed burned into my mind. I stood up from the armchair. My legs held me, but I felt like I was walking on cotton. I went to the kitchen and poured water into a glass. One from the set I bought when I got married almost 50 years ago. I drank slowly, trying to steady my breathing. Then I heard laughter from Jasmine and my son Ethan's room. She was showing him the video. "Look, baby, it already has over 50,000 likes. People understand, see?" she said. And the worst part came next. The voice of my son, my Ethan, the boy I carried in my arms when his father died. The boy people said I couldn't raise alone. The young man I took on 2 city buses every morning to school because we didn't have a car. The man I hugged on his wedding day, promising him he would always have a home with me. "Oh, Jassy, you're right. Besides, Mom's old now. What else can she do?" They laughed together. In that moment, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't break anything. I just smiled. A small, still smile that came from some deep place I didn't even know existed. Because in that second, as I listened to their laughter and watched the notifications keep popping up on the phone still in my hand, I understood something that would change everything. I had been too good, too quiet, too available. I had confused love with invisibility, and that was about to end. I opened the video again and watched every second of it. Every mocking gesture, every cruel comment, calling me a gold digger or a burden. And as I watched, my mind began to work, because Jasmine had just made the biggest mistake of her life. She didn't know who she was messing with. She didn't know that this house she walked through so comfortably, with such arrogance, had an owner. And that owner was not a weak or defeated woman. It was me, Ruthie Mae Jakes. And I was about to remind everyone who built these walls. I turned off my phone, took off my apron, poured myself another cup of coffee, and started planning. Because if I've learned anything in 68 years of life, it's that battles aren't won by shouting. They're won by thinking, waiting, and acting at the exact right moment. And my moment was about to arrive. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in my bedroom, the smallest one in the house, the one with a view of the alley instead of the yard, staring at the ceiling while listening to Ethan and Jasmine snoring in the master bedroom. The same bedroom that had been mine for 30 years. The one I had given up so they could be more comfortable. I woke up at 4 in the morning as usual. My bones had that internal clock that doesn't need an alarm. I put on my robe, clean but worn at the elbows, and went out to the backyard. The air was cool and smelled of damp earth, even though it hadn't rained. I sat down on the concrete bench next to the lemon tree, the one I planted when Ethan was 5. The one that now gave lemons as big as fists. And there, in the darkness, broken only by the yellow light of the street lamp, I let the memories come, because I needed to remember. I needed my own history to give me back the strength I felt, slipping through my fingers. I bought this house in 1988. Let me repeat that so it's clear. I bought it, with my money, with my hands. I was 28 years old and had just buried Richard, stomach cancer. 4 months from diagnosis until he closed his eyes for the last time, squeezing my hand as if he wanted to take a piece of me with him. I was left alone with Ethan, a 3-year-old who still asked for his daddy every night before bed, with no savings and no family who could help us. My parents had already passed, and Richard's family disappeared as soon as they realized there was no inheritance. People told me, "Sell out, Ruthie Mae. Go back to your hometown. Find a man to take care of you." I would smile at them and think to myself, I'd rather die. I got a job at the textile factory in the old industrial district, the 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. shift. I sewed pockets onto denim jeans, 500 a day. My fingers bled the first few weeks until they developed calluses so hard I couldn't feel the needles anymore. But it wasn't enough, so I got another job. From 5 p.m. to 10 p.m., I cleaned offices in a downtown high-rise. I took Ethan with me. I'd sit him in a chair with his crayons and little books while I mopped floors, emptied trash cans and polished desks where others made important decisions. I slept 4 hours, sometimes 3. On weekends, I sold homemade sweet potato pies and fried chicken dinners that I prepared late Friday nights. I carried them in a big cooler to the church bazaar. Ethan helped me shout, "Hot dinners! Get your pie and chicken here!" Every dollar I earned I saved in a metal box I hid under my bed. No luxuries, no new clothes, no going out. Just work, just saving, just the dream of having a place of my own where my son could grow up safe. It took me 5 years. 5 years of waking up before the sun and going to bed after it rose again. 5 years of watching Ethan grow up practically without me. Raised between factories and offices, eating cold sandwiches and sleeping on borrowed chairs. But in 1993, when Ethan turned 8, I signed the deed to this house. It was small back then. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and a kitchen and living room that were really just one space. The walls had cracks. The roof leaked when it rained hard. The floor tiles were broken. There was no yard. Just a patch of dirt and weeds. But it was mine. I cried the day I got the keys. I cried so hard that Ethan got scared and hugged me, saying, "Don't cry, Mommy. We're going to be okay now." And I started fixing it up. I installed the bathroom tiles myself. I went to the library to watch tutorials and asked the bricklayers working in the neighborhood for advice. I bought the cheapest materials and installed them with my own hands. I cut myself. I burned myself with cement mix. My back ached for weeks, but it was beautiful. I painted the walls light yellow because I wanted the light to come in. I planted the lemon tree. I placed pots of red geraniums by the entrance. I built the concrete bench where I was now sitting. By the time Ethan turned 15, we had a full yard. We held his birthday party right here. We invited 30 people. There was music, barbecue ribs, and a German chocolate cake I made using my grandmother's recipe. That night, my son hugged me and said, "Thank you for giving us this home, Mom. Someday I'm going to take care of you just like you took care of me." I treasured those words in my heart. When Ethan finished high school, I expanded the house. I took out a loan and built 2 more bedrooms. One for him, one for me. I separated them with a hallway so he could have privacy. I gave him his own closet, his own space. "For when you bring your wife home," I joked. He laughed and said, "Mom, you're always going to be the queen of this house." I paid off that loan in 3 years, working double shifts again without a single complaint because it was for my son, for our future. Ethan studied business administration at City College. I paid for his books, his bus fare, his food. I worked cleaning houses on Saturdays and Sundays so he could concentrate on his studies and not have to work. He graduated with honors. We cried together on his graduation day. He gave me a bouquet of yellow flowers, my favorites, and told all his classmates, "These are from my mom. She's the reason I'm standing here." I was the proudest woman in the world. 2 years later, he met Jasmine. She worked as a receptionist at the firm where Ethan got his first job. She was pretty, friendly, well-spoken. I liked her from the start. When Ethan told me they were getting married, I hugged her and said, "Welcome to the family, sweetheart. This house is yours too." I meant every word. We organized the wedding here in the backyard. We didn't have money for a big venue, but we made it beautiful. Lights strung in the trees, tables with white tablecloths I sewed myself, and food prepared with the help of neighbors. Jasmine cried with happiness. She hugged me and said, "Thank you, mother-in-law. Ethan is so lucky to have a mom like you." When they came back from their honeymoon, a 3-day weekend at a South Carolina beach resort that I paid for, I offered to let them stay in the house while they saved up for their own place. "It's not forever," Ethan said. "Just until we get enough for a down payment on a condo." "Take all the time you need," I replied. And I gave them the master bedroom. My room. The one with the big closet, the window overlooking the yard, the private bathroom I had worked so hard to build. "You two are young. You need your space," I told them as I moved my things into the small room. Ethan protested. Jasmine said, "Oh, mother-in-law, you don't have to do that." But I insisted, because that's who I am. I give, I yield. I make myself small so others can grow. Kyla was born, then Samuel. I became the full-time grandmother. I watched the children while Jasmine worked. I bathed them, fed them, helped them with their homework. I got up in the middle of the night when they cried so their parents could sleep. "I'm a light sleeper anyway," I used to say. I cleaned the house, cooked for everyone, washed their laundry, ironed Ethan's shirts, and bought groceries with my Social Security because I eat less anyway. I never asked for anything in return. I never complained because I thought that was love. But sitting there on the bench at 5 in the morning, the day after that awful video, I realized something that split me in two. I had become invisible in my own home, not because I was old or useless, but because I gave so much that I stopped existing as a person. I became a function, a service, the woman who cleans, cooks, and watches the kids. And the worst part is, I let it happen. The sun began to rise. Birds sang in the lemon tree. I heard Ethan's door open and close, footsteps heading to the bathroom. I wiped away tears I hadn't realized were falling. I touched the wall of the house, cold, solid mine. Every brick held my sweat, every tile my blood, every corner my history. And no one, absolutely no one, was going to take that away from me. Especially not someone who never had to build anything with her own hands. I got up from the bench, straightened my back, and took a deep breath. The war had begun, but first I needed to know exactly what I was fighting. At breakfast, I prepared smothered pork chops and grits, Ethan's favorite since he was a boy, with shredded chicken, cream, and fresh cheese. I set the table carefully. Clean plates, folded napkins, freshly squeezed orange juice in the glass pitcher I'd inherited from my mother. Jasmine came down first. She wore silk pajamas that cost over $75. I knew because I'd seen the receipt in her bag. Her hair was pulled back in a perfect ponytail. She looked rested, radiant. "Morning, mother-in-law," she said, her voice sing-song and sweet. But now it sounded completely fake to me. I didn't answer right away. I poured her coffee into her favorite mug, the one with the floral pattern that only she was allowed to use. "Jasmine," I said finally, keeping my voice calm. "I need to talk to you." She didn't even look up from her phone. "Yeah, what's up?" she asked, distracted. "I saw your video." The silence that followed was thick enough to touch. Jasmine blinked once, twice, then let out a nervous little laugh. "Oh, mother-in-law. What video are you talking about?" "The one on TikTok," I said, "where you tell the world it's my duty to take care of your house and your children, because I don't do anything else with my life." Her cheeks flushed, but what I saw in her eyes wasn't shame. It was annoyance. Annoyance that I had caught her. "Oh, you're exaggerating," she said, turning her back to pour more coffee. "It was just a joke. People got that it was a joke." 63,000 people laughing at me doesn't sound like a joke, Jasmine. Just then, I heard footsteps on the stairs. Ethan was coming down. He was wearing the pajamas I'd given him for Christmas. His hair messy, eyes tired, but when he saw my face, he immediately sensed something was wrong. "What's going on?" he asked, glancing between us. Jasmine spoke first with that well-practiced look of innocence. "Your mom's upset about a TikTok I posted, but honey, it was just a joke. Everyone online knows it's fun content, not serious." Ethan looked at me, and in his eyes I saw something that cut deeper than the video itself. Doubt. "Mom, what video is she talking about?" he asked. My hands trembled slightly as I took out my phone. I opened TikTok, searched Jasmine's profile, and there it was. Still up now with 92,000 likes. I handed the phone to him. He watched in silence, eyes scanning the comments, his face shifting from curiosity to discomfort. And then he spoke. Words that froze me where I stood. "Mom, I think you're overreacting." I felt as if a bucket of ice water had been poured down my back. "Overreacting," I whispered. He scratched the back of his neck, uneasy. "It's just a video. Jasmine has a lot of followers. It's not personal." "Not personal," I repeated softly, tasting the betrayal in every syllable. My voice rose before I could stop it. "She filmed me without my permission. She put me on display for thousands of strangers and said it's my duty to serve you two. And you tell me it's not personal." Jasmine crossed her arms, her face cold now, no longer pretending to be sorry. "Mother-in-law," she said, "you told me yourself just 2 weeks ago that you love watching the kids, that it's the best part of your life." I was just repeating what you said. It was true. I had said that. But not the way she twisted it, not with that mocking tone, not to justify using me. "Besides," she continued, growing bolder now that she saw Ethan wasn't stepping in, "we all live here together. It's normal for everyone to contribute. We pay the utilities, the food. You help with the house. We all contribute." Something in my chest tightened until I could barely breathe. "You pay the utilities?" I asked quietly. "The food?" "Well, yeah," Ethan said as if it were obvious. "The electric, gas, water, groceries, it all comes out of my paycheck." My legs gave way and I sank into a chair. I looked him straight in the eyes. Ethan, do you know whose name is on the deed to this house? He frowned. What does that have to do with anything? Answer me. I don't know. Dad's? Or both of yours? Jasmine was staring at me now, curious. Something inside me cracked. Not from sorrow, but from sheer indignation. This house is in my name, only mine. I bought it in 1993 with my money. Every dollar for the down payment, every monthly installment for 15 years came from my hands. Your father never even saw it finished. He died before I bought it. I built the bathroom myself. I laid every tile. I planted that yard where your children play. And I have never charged you a single dollar in rent. The silence was total. The utilities you pay so proudly? I continued. They're for my house. The food you buy is cooked on my stove, kept in my refrigerator, served on my table. You sleep in my bedroom. You bathe in my bathroom. You breathe in my living room. I saw Jasmine's jaw clench, and in 5 years of living here, I've only ever asked for one thing. Respect. Mom. Calm down, Ethan said softly. That was the final straw. Calm down. After your wife humiliated me in front of thousands of people, after strangers called me a gold digger, a useless old woman, a burden, while you two laughed, Ethan's face went pale. You heard us? I heard you yesterday, I said, my voice trembling. You laughed and said, Jassy, you're right. Mom's old now, what else can she do? Ethan looked away, unable to meet my eyes. Jasmine didn't. Her stare was sharp and cold, and there wasn't a trace of remorse in it. Only irritation. Well, if it bothers you so much, she said, each word dripping with disdain, I can delete the video. Happy? It's not about the video, Jasmine, I said. It's about respect, about remembering that this is my house. And I deserve to be treated with dignity in it. Nobody disrespected you, she yelled. You're just making a huge drama out of something everyone does online. You should be grateful I even included you. Other influencers charge people to appear in their videos. I stared at her, speechless. Then I turned to my son, my last hope, praying he'd finally defend me. But Ethan just sighed, his voice weary. Mom, you're both overreacting. Jasmine, delete the video. Mom, forgive her. Let's just drop it. I don't want fights in this house. And that's when I understood. My son wouldn't defend me. He'd chosen false peace over justice. He'd chosen not to inconvenience his wife over protecting his mother. I stood up slowly. The pork chops and grits had gone cold. No one had touched them. You're right, I said, forcing a calm I didn't feel. I don't want fights either. Have a good day. I went upstairs, locked my door, and for the first time in years, I cried. Not out of sadness, but out of rage. Because I had just realized that in my own home, the one I built with my hands, paid for with my blood and sweat, I was worth less than the comfort of a manipulative daughter-in-law and the cowardice of a blind son. But if there's one thing life has taught me, it's this. Tears dry up and rage does not. Rage turns into action. I dried my face, opened my bedside drawer, and pulled out the old notepad where I kept important numbers. Then I started making calls. Calm, deliberate, strategic, because Jasmine and Ethan had just made a terrible mistake. They thought that because I was older, I was weak. They were about to learn that women of my generation didn't survive by being weak. We survived by being smarter than our enemies. 3 days passed. 3 long, quiet days in which I played my part perfectly. I made breakfast. I picked up toys. I smiled when the children hugged me. I greeted Jasmine politely when she walked past, as if nothing had happened, as if I were still part of the furniture. But inside, everything had changed. Now, I observed. I listened, and I took mental notes of every small detail I had once ignored. On Monday night, Jasmine went out with her friends. She came back around 11, smelling of cigarettes, and an expensive perfume I didn't recognize. Ethan was already asleep. He didn't ask where she'd been, on Tuesday, while cleaning their room. Yes, I still did it, though every bone in my body screamed not to. I found a receipt tucked inside her handbag. $150. Dinner for 2. Italian restaurant. Date, the previous Wednesday. The very day she told me she had to run errands at the bank. I didn't say a word. I simply folded the receipt and slipped it into my apron pocket. Then came Wednesday night. It was almost midnight. I couldn't sleep, not unusual lately. My mind was restless, replaying everything that had happened. I finally went downstairs for a glass of water with lemon to calm my nerves. The house was dark and silent, except for the low hum of the refrigerator and a dog barking somewhere in the distance. I poured the water, squeezed in half a lemon, and that's when I heard it. Jasmine's voice. It was coming from the backyard. She was on the phone. I froze in the doorway, standing in the shadows with the glass in my hand. "No, Mom, not yet," Jasmine was saying quietly. "I told you this takes time." Silence. Then she spoke again. I know, but I can't just pressure her. The old lady's more stubborn than we thought." My heart began to pound. "Look, I'll explain it again," she continued, sounding irritated now. "As soon as she dies, the house automatically passes to Ethan. He's her only son, and what's Ethan's is mine. That's how inheritance works." The floor seemed to shift beneath me. The lawyer said that since we've been living here for 5 years, we also have possession rights. We can claim we've contributed to maintaining the property. Besides, she paused, then laughed softly. "She's old. How much longer can she live? 10 years? 5? She spoke of my death as casually as if she were discussing the weather. "No, Ethan doesn't know anything," she went on. "And he can't. You know how sentimental he gets about his dear old mommy. If I tell him the house is going to be ours, he'll start crying about how his mother deserves respect and all that nonsense." I had to press my hand over my mouth to stop the scream building in my chest. "Of course, I respect her." "Mom," Jasmine said, her voice dripping with false sweetness, "but we have to be practical. This house is easily worth $450,000. Do you know what we could do with that money? Sell it. Buy something bigger in a better neighborhood. Invest the rest." She paused and then, in a tone that made my blood run cold, added, "Don't worry. It's only a matter of time. $450. My house, my life, my sacrifice, reduced to a number in that woman's head. Look, I already talked to the lawyer last week," Jasmine continued. "He explained everything. Since the house is only in her name, and there's no registered will, it passes directly to the forced heir, which is Ethan. Period. He doesn't even have to do anything. It's automatic." I heard the flick of a lighter. Jasmine was smoking again, something she always denied whenever Ethan asked if she'd quit. "The only problem," she went on, "would be if she makes a will and leaves the house to someone else. But who? She doesn't have anyone. And I seriously doubt someone her age is thinking about that. Old ladies from her generation don't go to notaries or draw up papers. They live in the past." Rage boiled up inside me like lava. "Besides," Jasmine said after a drag, "even if she did make a will, I checked. Forced heirs can always claim their share. Ethan will get something no matter what. So either way, we win." A long silence. Then, "The video? Oh, Mom, that was different. That was for my audience, for engagement. You know how this works. The more controversy, the more views. And yeah, the old lady got mad. But she'll get over it. What's she gonna do, kick us out? She doesn't have the guts. You saw how dramatic she got. But at the end of the day, she kept cooking and cleaning like always. That was the moment the pain stopped, and the fire began." "Don't worry," Jasmine said, her voice dripping with arrogance. "Everything's under control. I'll keep her happy and useful. As long as she keeps believing we're a happy family, she won't make any strange moves. And when the time comes, well, we got it. The house is ours." The call ended. I heard her footsteps approaching. My pulse quickened. I rushed upstairs, careful not to make a sound, locked my door, and leaned against it, trembling. The glass of water shook in my hand. I set it down softly on the nightstand. Then I remembered. The phone. It was in the pocket of my robe. By instinct, or divine intervention, I had pressed record when Jasmine started talking. My hands shook as I pulled it out. The screen glowed. 8 minutes and 43 seconds. Every word, every plan, every lie. I replayed it to be sure. Jasmine's voice was crystal clear. When it ended, I smiled. Not bitterly, not sadly, but with quiet, cold satisfaction. The smile of a woman who had just found her winning card in a game she thought she'd already lost. Because Jasmine was right about one thing. Women from my generation don't usually go to lawyers. Except when we do. It was 1 a.m. Too late to call, but not too late to plan. I opened my old notepad and found the names I needed. Azure Williams, my friend of 30 years. A retired real estate attorney with more wisdom in her pinky than most in a courtroom. And below her, Leo Jakes, my nephew, a family and probate lawyer who always said, "Auntie, anything you need, call me." I slipped the phone under my pillow. It was my ammunition. And lay down, eyes open in the dark, my mind sharp and alive. Jasmine thought I was weak. She thought I was just an old woman she could manipulate. But I had survived my husband's death. I had raised a son alone. I had built this home with my own 2 hands. And now, Jasmine was about to learn. I am not the kind of woman you betray and walk away from. She had just unleashed a storm. The next morning I went down to breakfast as usual. I made eggs and beans, poured coffee, and greeted them all with a calm smile. Jasmine looked at me with that same smug superiority I now recognized for what it truly was. "Morning, mother-in-law," she said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "Morning, dear," I replied evenly. As I served her plate, watching Ethan read the newspaper without even glancing at me, listening to my grandchildren argue over the TV remote, one thought kept circling in my mind. Enjoy these peaceful days, Jasmine, because soon your entire world will collapse, and this time there won't be a TikTok video to save it. Thursday, 10 a.m. While Jasmine was at the gym and Ethan was at work, I left the house with my most discreet handbag and my phone tucked securely in my pocket. I told the children I was going to the market. Kyla barely looked up from her tablet. Sam was lost in his cartoons. I took a taxi, an expense I usually avoid. But this was no ordinary errand. I gave the driver the address of the firm where Azure Williams, my old friend, used to work before retiring. Azure now lived in a small condo near downtown, a building from the 1970s, with mustard-colored walls and plants on every balcony. I rang the bell. "Who is it?" came her voice over the intercom. "It's me, sister friend, Ruthie May." A pause. Then the door buzzed open. I climbed the 3 flights of stairs. The elevator had been broken for years. Azure met me at her apartment door, her white hair neatly pulled into a bun, her glasses hanging from a chain over her burgundy sweater. "Ruthie May," she said, eyeing me carefully. "By that look on your face, I'm guessing this isn't a social visit." I stepped inside. The air smelled of freshly brewed coffee and the cinnamon candles she always loved. We sat in her small, cozy living room, surrounded by books and family photos. "Tell me everything," she said, pouring coffee into delicate china cups. And I did. The video, the humiliation, the conversation I overheard, Jasmine's entire plan to take my house. When I finished, I took out my phone and played the recording. Azure listened without saying a word. Her face went from calm to tense, then to furious. When the audio ended, she removed her glasses and rubbed the bridge of her nose. "That wretch," she muttered. Azure never curses. The fact that she did now told me everything I needed to know about how bad this was. Does Ethan know anything? She asked. Nothing. According to Jasmine, he's completely clueless. Azure sighed. Typical. Sons are always the last to see what their wives really are. She looked at me sharply. So what do you want to do, sister friend? I want to protect my house, I said firmly. I want them to learn a lesson, and I want Ethan to finally see who he's married to. Azure nodded slowly, thinking. First things first, she said. Your house. It's in your name, right? Yes, only in my name. I don't know why, but something stopped me from ever putting it in Ethan's. That something is called instinct. And it saved you, Azure said, putting her glasses back on. Second, do you have a will? She asked. I shook my head. Then Jasmine is right about one thing. If you die without a will, the house automatically passes to Ethan as the forced heir. But that can be fixed. You need to create a will, and you need to talk to my nephew, Leo. I already had his number. Call him now, I said. I'm going to text him too. That boy is good and discreet, Azure replied. I dialed while she sent a WhatsApp. Leo answered on the third ring. Aunt Ruthie May, everything okay? His voice was warm, concerned. Leo was 38, my late brother Jerry's son. I had helped him through college. He'd never charged me, and always said he owed me everything. Leo, I need to see you. It's urgent and legal. Where are you with your Aunt Azure? He asked. I'm leaving a hearing in 20 minutes. I'll be there in 40. Don't move. He hung up. Azure smiled. That boy is one of the good ones, just like his daddy. Over coffee we planned. Azure, still sharp after retirement, explained my options. You can make a will leaving the house to whoever you want. Ethan, a foundation, a church. Me, if you like. It's your property. I don't want to disinherit my son, I said. He's a victim of her too. You can set conditions, Azure said. Create a trust, divide the property. There are ways to protect your interests and teach that snake a lesson without leaving your son homeless. And the video? I asked. Azure twisted her mouth. Legally, it's messy, she said. I hadn't signed consent to appear, but since it was filmed in your house and she lives there, it's a gray area. You could demand it be taken down for unauthorized use of your image, but it would be slow. I don't want slow. I want quick justice. Then go for what hurts her, the assets. Take away what she truly wants and destroy her without stepping into a courtroom. That's why Azure had been the best real estate attorney in the area. A knock at the door. Leo had arrived. I saw him through the peephole. Tall, solid, neatly trimmed beard, dark grey suit, leather briefcase in hand. Azure opened the door. Auntie, Leo said, kissing her cheek. Then he turned to me. Aunt Ruthie May. He hugged me, a real hug that reminded me I wasn't alone. We sat around the coffee table. Leo took out a notepad. Tell me everything, he said, and I did. Again I played the audio. Leo listened, growing darker with each sentence. When it ended, he closed his notepad and leaned back. Auntie, that woman isn't just manipulative. She's dangerous. What she's saying is technically correct from a legal point of view, but ethically, it's trash. Can I do something? You can do a lot, he said, opening his briefcase and spreading documents on the table. Option 1, a public will. You establish who inherits what under what conditions. Ironclad if done right. Yes, you can set conditions. Ethan could inherit only if he divorces, or the house could be sold, and the proceeds split among your grandchildren. You can create A trust where you maintain control until your death, and then it passes to whoever you designate. The options are many. I don't want to punish Ethan, I said, and for the first time that morning, hope threaded through my rage. I want to protect myself from her, I said. Leo nodded. Then I suggest this. Create a living trust. You are the grantor and the lifetime beneficiary. That means the house remains yours, and only yours while you live. No one can claim it, sell it, or do anything with it. When you die, you designate heirs under whatever conditions you want. Jasmine couldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. The trust is completely protected. Even if Ethan inherited later, it would be his separate property, not communal. She wouldn't have any right to it, a weight lifted from me. How long does it take? I asked. If we start today, it'll be ready in a week, he said. Bring the deed and your ID and come with me to the attorney's office next Tuesday. I'll prepare everything. Is there anything else? I asked. I want them out of my house, I said. Leo and Azure exchanged looks. Evict them? Leo asked, cautious. It's your house, Azure said. They don't have a lease. They live there by your goodwill, and you can withdraw that goodwill whenever you want. Leo looked at me with concern. Ethan is your son. This will break the family. Are? You sure? I thought of cold pork chops, mocking laughter, the viral video, Jasmine's scheme, and my son's blindness. The family was already broken. I was only making visible what they had destroyed in secret. Azure squeezed my hand. Then we'll do this right, Leo said. And we'll do it legally. I'll help you every step of the way. 2 hours later, we left with a clear plan. On Tuesday, we would sign the trust. On Wednesday, Leo would help inventory everything of yours in the house. And on Saturday, when they were away, we would execute the master plan. I took a taxi home. Jasmine sat in the living room painting her nails and watching TV. She didn't even look up when I came in. Did you buy vegetables? She asked without taking her eyes off the screen. I forgot, I lied. I'll go tomorrow. Order pizza then, she said, comfortable in my armchair, using my electricity, breathing my air, plotting to steal my life. I smiled. Yes, dear. Order pizza. I locked Leo's documents in my drawer and dialed one more number. Hello, Cousin Marcia. It's Ruthie May. I need a favor about social media. Marcia, 50, famous for traditional cooking videos, and savvy about the algorithm, listened with her usual energy. When I finished, she whistled. Cousin, that girl messed with the wrong person. When you're ready, I'll make sure half of America hears about it. Everything was in place, the pieces set, the plan drawn. All that was left was the exact moment to move the queen and destroy the enemy's king. Then the weekend brought unexpected news. Jasmine walked into the kitchen on Friday night with her phone in hand, and that spoiled child smile she wore when she wanted something. Mother-in-law, she cooed, sugary. Guess what? We won a weekend getaway at the Grand Cypress Resort. Hotel, meals, spa. We leave early tomorrow and get back late Monday night. My heart jumped, but my face stayed neutral. That's wonderful, dear. You deserve it. Ethan appeared behind her carrying a suitcase. Mom, are you sure you'll be okay? It's 3 days. I'm 68, not 88. I can take care of myself. He hesitated. But the kids? I raised an eyebrow. Jasmine and Ethan exchanged uncomfortable looks. Well, we thought. Jasmine bit her lip. They could come with us. There's a kids' pool. Or they can stay with Grandma and have a good time here. I looked at Kyla and Sam. What do you two prefer? Boring spa with your parents or fun weekend with Grandma? With Grandma! They shouted in unison. Case closed. I saw the annoyance flare in Jasmine's eyes, but she said nothing. Ethan looked relieved he wouldn't have to manage the children on his romantic getaway. They left early the next morning. I waved them off with hugs and kisses. Jasmine's hug was loose, the kind that means nothing. Take care, mother-in-law, and watch the kids closely. As always, I replied with my best obedient grandmother smile. Ethan kissed my forehead. Thanks, Mom. You're the best. I watched them drive away, watched them turn the corner and disappear. I closed the door, breathed deeply, and picked up my phone. Lo, they're gone. Perfect. I'll be there in 30 minutes with the truck. I woke the children, gave them quick cereal, milk, and bananas. Grandma, are we going to the park? Sam asked with his mouth full. Later, sweetheart. First, Grandma has some things to do. Want to watch movies on my tablet? Their faces lit up. This was a rare morning treat. I set them up with blankets, cookies, and juice while they watched cartoons. At 8:30, Leo arrived with a small moving truck and 2 strong men in blue overalls. Auntie, I'd like you to meet Roberto and Chewy. They're trustworthy, discreet, and fast. The men lifted their caps and greeted me respectfully. Good morning, ma'am. Where should we start? I opened the front door. The master bedroom. Everything in there is theirs. Clothes, furniture, personal belongings. Everything comes out. Leo took out a notepad. We'll list every single thing we remove. Photos, too, just in case they accuse us of theft. We'll have evidence that we only took what belonged to them. For the next 3 hours, the men worked like organized ants, carrying out the modern dresser Jasmine had bought 2 years ago in the king-sized bed they had brought when they married because the old one in the house wasn't fit for them. The vanity with the LED-lit mirror, the floating shelves, the 50-inch television Ethan had installed on the wall. Everything went. Every shoebox of Jasmine's, every suit of Ethan's, every dress, tie, perfume, and facial cream. Leo photographed each item before it went downstairs while I checked them off my list. The bookshelf? I said, pointing to the dark wood unit by the window. Are you sure? It's nice, Leo said. They bought it a year ago. My old pine one's in the shed because of it. It goes. The men disassembled it piece by piece. When they were done, the master bedroom looked like a vacant hotel room. Only the light blue walls I had painted 15 years ago and the hardwood floor I'd paid for myself remained. Now the bathroom, I said. Everything goes. Jasmine's expensive creams, Ethan's electric toothbrush, their new towels, even the bath mat. I left only the old towels that were mine and a bar of soap. The living room? Roberto asked, wiping sweat from his forehead. The gray sectional sofa, that's theirs. How'd it goes? The television, too? They carried out the sofa, the glass coffee table, the 60-inch TV, the sound system, and even Jasmine's decorative plants in sleek pots. Then I brought my old navy blue armchair from the shed. It was a little worn but clean and comfortable. My 32-inch television returned to the living room, along with my mother's carved wooden coffee table. Slowly the house began to look like my house again. The kitchen? Chewy asked. Take out the Italian coffee maker, the non-stick pans, the blender, the microwave. Everything that wasn't here before they moved in. We even opened the china cabinet. This white minimalist dinner set is theirs, I said, pointing at the square dishes I'd always hated. Take the whole set. I've got my floral plate stored away. Leo gave me a look of amused respect. Auntie, you are ruthless. I'm fair, I replied. They take what's theirs. I keep what's mine. He smiled. By noon, the truck was full. Where are we taking it? Roberto asked. To the Maplewood Avenue storage unit, Leo said, handing him a paper with the address. Already rented and paid for a month. I handed over the key I'd picked up Thursday. A 60-foot unit, more than enough for their belongings. The men left with the truck while Leo stayed behind. Now for the interesting part, he said, pulling a small toolbox from his SUV. He replaced the old silver front door lock with a new gold steel one. "Here," he said, handing me 3 keys. "One for you, 1 spare, and 1 backup." "Is this legal?" I asked, though I already knew. "Completely. It's your house. You can change the locks any time you want. They have no tenant rights. They're guests here by your goodwill." I slipped the keys into my pocket. The house felt different, emptier, but more mine, as if it had gotten its soul back. I cleaned, swept, and rearranged the old furniture. I hung the photographs I'd once put away. Richard, little Ethan, my parents. On the dining table, I spread the hand-embroidered tablecloths my mother had given me when I married. I watered the plants in the yard, and when I finished, I sat in my navy blue armchair, in my living room, in my house, and had a cup of coffee in my favorite mug, the one with little flowers that Jasmine had banished to the back of the cabinet for being too old-fashioned. The children were still watching cartoons, blissfully unaware of everything. Leo sat beside me. "How do you feel about this?" I thought about it. I searched myself for guilt, remorse, or doubt, but found only peace. "I feel free," I said finally. "Completely free," he nodded. "They'll be back Monday. Are you ready for that?" "More than ready." "It's going to be ugly, Auntie." "I know, but the ugly part already happened. When they turned me into a meme, when they plotted to steal from me, when my own son laughed at me. That was ugly. This..." I gestured around the house. "This is justice." Leo stood. "I'll be here Monday, whatever time you need me. You won't be alone. Thank you, nephew." After he left, I cooked my grandchildren's favorite dinner. Homemade chicken tenders, French fries, and colored gelatin. We ate outside under the lemon tree, sitting together on the old concrete bench. "Grandma," Kyla asked suddenly, "why did they take so many things out of the house?" My 9-year-old granddaughter was more observant than anyone gave her credit for. "I was tidying up, sweetheart. Sometimes you have to take out what's not working to make room for better things." My parents are going to be mad. I looked into her light brown eyes. Ethan's eyes. Maybe. But sometimes adults have to do hard things so everyone can learn. She nodded, though I knew she didn't fully understand. The rest of the weekend was calm. Eerily so. We played, watched movies, baked cookies. That night, all 3 of us squeezed into my bed, reading stories until they fell asleep. It felt like peace, the kind I hadn't known in years. On Sunday night, after tucking them in, I sat alone in the dark living room. Tomorrow they would return. Tomorrow they would see what I had done. Tomorrow everything would change. I picked up my phone and sent a message to Leo. "Be here by 5, Au. They'll be home by then." His reply came instantly. "I'll be there, Auntie, with all the legal backup you need." I put the phone down and looked around at my house. My real house. The one I had built. The one I had defended. No one would ever take it from me again. And I waited, because the storm was coming, and this time, I was the lightning. At 4:30 Monday afternoon, I heard the car park outside. I sat in my navy blue armchair, hands folded in my lap, back straight. A full pot of coffee waited on the table. The children were in the backyard playing with their toy cars. I'd told them not to come out until I called. I heard car doors close, laughter, carefree voices. They were happy, glowing from their weekend getaway. Footsteps approached the door. A key slid into the lock, turned, and stopped. Click. Twist. Nothing. Silence. "What's wrong?" "It won't open," Ethan said, confused. "Try again," Jasmine snapped. More attempts. More metallic scraping. Frustration rising. "Is it jammed?" Ethan asked, now worried. I stood from the armchair and smoothed my dress. My beige one with embroidered flowers. The one I wore only for important moments. From inside, I could hear their struggle. Then, calmly, I opened the door. Ethan stood there, key in hand, sweat on his forehead. Behind him was Jasmine, her expensive beach bag over her shoulder, irritation painted across her face. "Mom." Ethan sighed in relief. "Thank goodness you're here." "The lock is jammed," Ethan began. "It's not jammed," I interrupted, my voice calm. "I changed it. Absolute silence. They stared at me as if I'd spoken a foreign language. "What do you mean you changed it?" Jasmine asked with a nervous laugh. "Why would you do that?" "Because it's my house and I decided to change the locks." Ethan dropped his suitcase. Genuine confusion washed over his face. "Come in," I said, stepping aside. "But leave your suitcases outside, please." "What?" Jasmine tried to carry her luggage in. I repeated more firmly, "Leave them outside." Something in my tone stopped them. They left the suitcases on the porch and came inside. That's when they saw it. Jasmine's eyes scanned the living room as if she'd never seen it before. "Where is my furniture?" she shrieked. "Where is the sectional? The TV, what did you do?" Ethan stood with his mouth open. "Mom, where is everything?" "In a storage unit," I answered calmly, sinking back into my armchair. "On Maplewood Avenue. Your things are there waiting for you." "Our things?" Jasmine's voice rose 3 octaves. "What did you do with our things?" "I moved them to a safe place. Everything you brought into this house is packed and stored. Nothing was lost." "Everything's inventoried!" Jasmine ran up the stairs. I heard her pounding steps and then a scream. "Ethan, come up! Everything! She took everything! My clothes, my shoes, my vanity, the bed." Doors slammed, footsteps raced. Then they came down. Jasmine red with fury. Ethan pale as paper. "Are you insane?" Jasmine yelled, standing before me. "This is theft. I'm calling the police. You'll go to jail." "Call them," I said, unbothered. "I have the deed to the house. I have a complete inventory. Photos of everything, witnesses. I didn't touch anything that wasn't yours." "We live here," Ethan protested. "You can't just kick us out like this." "I'm not kicking you out," I replied. "Your things are in a safe place. You can stay, but you will sleep in the rooms I choose, with the furniture I provide, and under the rules I establish." "Mom, I don't understand," Ethan stammered, his voice trembling. "What is this? Why? What did we do?" I looked at my only son. A pang hit me, but I didn't relent. "Ethan, sit down. You too, Jasmine. It's time we talk about the truth." "I'm not sitting down." "Give me my things back now," Jasmine screamed. I reached into my dress pocket and took out my phone. "Before you keep yelling, there's something you need to hear." She began to shout, "I don't care." But I pressed play. Jasmine's voice filled the room. "No, Mom, not yet. I told you this takes time. I can't just pressure her. The old lady is more stubborn than we thought." I let the recording play. Every word, every plan, every lie. As soon as she dies, the house automatically passes to Ethan. We have possession rights. The house is easily worth $450. Ethan sank into the armchair. The color drained from his face as confusion curdled into horror. "No, Ethan doesn't know anything." Jasmine's recorded voice continued. "You know how sentimental he is about his dear old mommy." My son looked at me, tears welling in his eyes. The audio kept playing until the last poisoned word faded. Then silence, the kind so thick it could be sliced with a knife. That was," Jasmine stammered, her voice trembling. "Taken out of context. A joke. A lie." I finished for her. "No, Jasmine. That was last Wednesday at 11:30 p.m. You were in my backyard talking to your mother, planning how to take my house. I don't—" She fumbled for words, for excuses, for anything that could save her. "You lied. You manipulated. And worst of all, you deceived my son. You used him as a ladder to reach what never belonged to you." Ethan sat with his head in his hands, shoulders shaking. "Ethan, I can explain," Jasmine pleaded, moving toward him. "Don't touch me," he shouted, shoving her hand away. It was the first time in 5 years I had heard him raise his voice at her. "Is everything she said true?" he demanded. "Is it true? Honey, please, you have to understand. I just wanted to secure our future, The children's future. Answer me, he shouted again. Is it true or not? Jasmine opened her mouth, then closed it. Her silence said everything. Ethan rose from the armchair, unsteady, his eyes glistening with tears. Mom, I didn't know. I swear to God I didn't know anything about this. I know, I said gently. That's why I didn't take your things, too. He let out a sob, a raw, broken sound that tore through me. But I didn't waver. What do you want us to do? He asked, voice cracking. Just then, a knock echoed at the door. That must be my attorney, I said, standing. Right on time. I opened the door. Leo stepped in, briefcase in hand, dressed sharply in a dark suit. Good afternoon. I'm Mr. Leo Jakes, legal counsel for Mrs. Ruthie Mae Jakes, he said smoothly. You must be Ethan Jakes and Jasmine Williams? They nodded wordlessly, still in shock. Perfect, Leo continued. I'm here to deliver some documents and explain your legal situation. Leo opened his briefcase and neatly laid several documents on the coffee table. First, he said, his tone clear and precise. This is a copy of the irrevocable living trust Mrs. Jakes executed last week. The property is now under that trust, where she is both the grantor and lifetime beneficiary. That means no one, absolutely no one, can claim any legal right over this house while she is alive. He handed each of them a copy. Second, Leo continued, here is the complete inventory of items removed from the property. As you'll see, only possessions brought in after you moved here were taken. Nothing belonging to Mrs. Jakes was touched. He placed another set of papers before them. And third, he said, pulling out an envelope. This is the address and key to the storage unit where your belongings are stored. You have 30 days to collect them. After that, Mrs. Jakes assumes no responsibility for their safekeeping. Jasmine stared at the papers as if they were written in a foreign language, her face pale and tight with disbelief. And fourth, Leo went on, glancing at me for confirmation before continuing, Mrs. Jakes is fully within her rights to ask you to vacate the premises at any time. Since there is no lease or tenancy agreement, your stay has always been by her permission. I nodded and took over. However, I'm not going to throw you out, I said, my voice calm but resolute. Ethan, you're my son. You'll always be my son. But things will change. I turned to Jasmine. You can stay, too, but only under certain conditions. Otherwise, you both leave. The choice is yours. Ethan wiped his face. What conditions? He asked quietly. First, I said, you'll pay rent, $1,500 a month, to live in my house. Mom, Ethan began. Second, I interrupted, everyone helps with the housework. We'll make a schedule together. Third, I continued, there will be absolute respect toward me, toward this house, toward everything I've built. No mocking, no secret videos, no lies. If it happens again, you're out. Jasmine's lips parted to protest, but I didn't give her the chance. And fourth, I said, my voice steady, you will delete that video right now, in front of me. Then you'll post a public apology, a genuine one. Otherwise, there is no deal. Her chin lifted slightly. And if I don't accept? She asked, clinging to the last shred of her pride. Then your husband and children stay, I said coldly. And you go. The silence that followed was thick and heavy. Ethan looked at Jasmine. Jasmine looked at Ethan. Neither spoke. Both of them stared down at the legal papers in their hands, the weight of reality finally sinking in. And then, for the first time since I'd met her, Jasmine's composure cracked. She broke down, her voice barely a whisper. I'm sorry, she said. I'm sorry. I couldn't tell if she truly meant it or if she'd simply run out of defenses. But the truth was I no longer cared. I had taken back my home. I had taken back my dignity. And most importantly, I had taken back my son from the grip of deceit. The rest would come with time. No one moved for what felt like hours, though it could only have been minutes, Jasmine stood frozen in the middle of the living room, clutching the papers with trembling hands. Ethan sat hunched in the armchair, breathing heavily, as though he'd just run a mile uphill. Leo finally broke the silence. "I'll give you both a moment to process," he said gently. Then, turning to me, "I'll be outside if you need me, Auntie." He gave my shoulder a reassuring squeeze before stepping out, closing the door softly behind him. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then Jasmine spoke, her voice brittle and hollow. "You can't do this," she said, but there was no conviction left in her tone, just defeat. "We're your family," she added weakly. "Family doesn't plot to steal from you," I replied quietly. "Family doesn't humiliate you on the internet. And family doesn't sit around waiting for you to die so they can take what's yours." "I never said I wanted you to die," Jasmine cried, her voice breaking. "How much time does she have left? 10 years? 5? I quoted her own words from the recording. Just refreshing your memory." Jasmine's eyes closed, and a single tear rolled down her cheek. I couldn't tell whether it came from regret or calculation. Ethan suddenly stood. "I need air," he muttered, and walked out to the backyard without looking at either of us. Through the window, I saw him sit on the same concrete bench where I had once cried and planned this very moment. He buried his face in his hands. Jasmine took a hesitant step toward the door. "Leave him," I said firmly. "For once in your life, let him process something without you controlling the narrative." She froze. Her gaze met mine. Something between fear and hatred flickered there. "Maybe both. What do you want from me?" she asked finally. "To humiliate me? To destroy me? You already won. Isn't that enough?" "I don't want to humiliate you, Jasmine," I said softly. "I want you to understand what you did. I want you to look out that window, at those children playing, and ask yourself what kind of example you've set for them." "I did everything for them," she said through tears. "For their future, to give them a good life. You were teaching them that it's okay to lie, to steal, to use people." I replied. "It's not stealing if it's an inheritance," she shot back weakly. "It's stealing," I said. "When your plan depends on the owner dying soon." She opened her mouth, but no words came. There was no defense left to make. She sank to the floor, leaning against the wall, still clutching the papers like a lifeline. "I don't know what to do," she said finally, her voice breaking. "I don't know how to fix this." I sat back in my armchair and let the silence hang heavy between us. "You know what the saddest part of this is?" I said quietly. "I loved you, Jasmine, truly. When Ethan brought you home, I saw how you looked at him, and I believed it was real. I opened my home and my heart to you. I treated you like a daughter." She looked up at me, tears streaking her face. "I loved you too," she whispered. "No," I said. "You didn't. You didn't want me. You wanted security, a free house, someone to watch your children while you lived your life. But you never wanted me." She shook her head, but without conviction. "When you made that video," I continued, "you didn't just humiliate me. You made me invisible. You reduced me to a function, a staff member without pay. And people laughed. Thousands of strangers believed I was a burden, a gold digger, a useless old woman. It was just a video," she tried to say. "It was my dignity." My voice rose for the first time. "Do you know how many years I worked to build this house? How many sleepless nights? How many times I ate beans and cornbread to save money? How many times my hands bled? Literally and metaphorically." I stood up and walked toward her. "I built this with blood, Jasmine, and you were going to take it as if it were nothing. As if I were nothing. As if my life didn't matter." She was sobbing now, her makeup smeared, her hair disheveled. So different from the confident influencer who posted videos online. The backyard door opened. Ethan came in. His eyes were red, but his expression had hardened. "Jasmine, get up," he said firmly. She looked up from the floor. "Honey, no, get up. We need to talk outside." Jasmine rose with difficulty. Ethan took her arm, not violently but with resolve, and led her to the patio, closing the door behind them. I stayed in the living room, watching through the window. Ethan spoke. Jasmine tried to interrupt. He raised his hand, asking her to let him finish. She cried. He remained firm. 20 minutes passed. When they came back in, something had changed. The space between them was wider. Their eyes avoided each other. "Mom," Ethan said quietly, "we accept your conditions. All 5 of them. No negotiation." Jasmine nodded, eyes fixed on the floor. "But there's something else," he added, his voice trembling slightly. "Jasmine and I are separating." The words hit me like a punch. "Ethan, don't—" "It's not because of you, Mom. It's because of us. Because of what this day revealed. I thought I knew the woman I married. I thought we shared values. I thought we were a team. But today I discovered she was hiding secrets, that she saw me as a means to an end." "Ethan, please, we can work on this," Jasmine pleaded, grabbing his arm. "I'll go to therapy. I'll change anything." He gently pulled away. "I need time. I need to think. I need to understand who you really are. Because the woman in that audio, that's not the woman I thought I knew." "What about the children?" Jasmine asked desperately. "The children stay with me here. With my mom," Ethan said, turning to me. "If she agrees. If not, we'll find somewhere else. But they won't grow up in a place where things like this are planned again." "Son," I began, but my voice failed. "Mom, forgive me." Ethan knelt in front of me, my grown son, 33 years old, on his knees. "Forgive me for being blind, for not defending you, for letting them treat you like that in your own house, for laughing at that video, for doubting you when you showed me the truth." The tears I'd held back finally fell. "I just wanted to give you a happy home," I whispered, placing a hand on his head. "A family. I thought I was doing the right thing. By giving them space, by helping them, by making myself small, so you all could grow." "You made yourself too small, Mom," he said softly. "So small you almost disappeared. And I didn't see it. I didn't want to see it, because it was easier to let you keep doing everything. For you to sacrifice, to give up your bedroom, your privacy, your life. Ethan, get up. That's enough. You don't need to say this," I interrupted softly. He looked at me with tear-filled eyes. "Dad died when I was 3. I barely remember him. But you were always there. You worked yourself to exhaustion to give me a decent life. You paid for my school, supported me in everything. And I repaid you with indifference, with minimizing your pain, with choosing the comfort of my marriage over your dignity." "It's not like that," I tried to console him. "Yes, it is. And it ends today." He stood up, wiping his face. "Jasmine will go to the storage unit tomorrow to organize her things. She'll look for an apartment. The kids and I are staying here. I'll pay the rent you asked for, even though it's ridiculously low. I'll help with the house, and I'll finally learn to be the son you deserved from the start." I looked at Jasmine. I expected anger or resentment, but saw only defeat. "When do you want me to leave?" she asked flatly. "You can stay in the guest room tonight," I said. "Tomorrow start looking for a place. You have 1 month to clear your things from storage and sort everything out. The children can visit you any time. But you no longer live here." She nodded quietly, without protest, without manipulation. Maybe because she finally understood she had lost. Or maybe because she never cared enough to fight. "There's one more thing," Ethan said. "The video. Delete it, now." Jasmine pulled out her phone with trembling hands, opened TikTok, found the video. Over 200,000 likes, and deleted it. "Now the apology," I added. "Public, sincere, or the deal's off." Jasmine looked at me. Her expression was unreadable, somewhere between remorse, calculation, and resignation. "I'll do it," she whispered. "But not today. I need to process all this first." "You have until noon tomorrow," I said firmly, "or the deal is off." She nodded. Ethan went to the backyard to fetch the children. He brought Kyla and Sam inside. They looked around, sensing the tension even if they didn't understand it. "Kids," Ethan said, kneeling to their level. "Mommy's going to stay somewhere else for a while, but she'll still see you often. You'll be here with Dad and Grandma, okay?" "Why?" Kyla asked, her voice small and wary. "Because sometimes adults need time to fix things," he said gently. "But we both love you very much. That will never change." Sam hugged my leg. "Grandma's staying with us?" "Yes, my love. Grandma's staying. Good," he said simply. "I like being with Grandma." Those 6 words broke me and healed me at the same time. Jasmine said goodbye to her children with long hugs and tearful kisses. They clung to her, not fully understanding but feeling her sadness. Then she went upstairs to the guest room without another word. Ethan prepared dinner, simple quesadillas with beans. We ate in silence, the 4 of us at my table, on my tablecloths. After putting the children to bed, Ethan and I sat in the living room. "Are you sure about this?" I asked quietly. "The separation? It's still your family." "It's my broken family, Mom," he said, "and I can't keep pretending everything's fine when the foundation of my marriage was a lie." "The children," I began, my voice trembling. "The children will be better off in an honest home, even if it's divided, than in one built on secrets and manipulation." He was right, but that didn't make it hurt any less. "I love you, Mom," Ethan said, resting his head on my shoulder like he used to when he was little, "and I'm going to prove it to you every day from now on." "I know, son," I whispered. "I know." That night I lay in my bed, the same bed I had reclaimed from the small room, and returned to my master bedroom. I stared at the ceiling. I had my house back, but I had lost the illusion of a perfect family. Was it worth it? I looked around, at my room, my space, my restored dignity. Yes, it was worth every tear. The next morning I woke at 6, as always. I made coffee and set out some pastries I'd bought the day before. The house smelled different, lighter, like the smoke from a long-burning fire had finally cleared. Ethan came downstairs at 7. He had dark circles under his eyes but looked calmer. "Morning, Mom." "Morning, son." "Did you sleep?" "A little, but well enough," he said, pouring himself coffee. "And you?" "Better than I have in months." Jasmine didn't come down until 9. Her hair was pulled back in a loose bun, her face bare. The same clothes from yesterday. She looked small, fragile even. "Morning," she murmured. No one answered. She poured herself coffee and sat apart from us. By 11 she was still there, staring at her phone. "It's almost noon," I reminded her. She looked up, her eyes swollen from crying. "I know. Are you going to keep your part of the deal?" I asked for a long moment. I thought she might refuse, that she'd walk out and vanish, forfeiting even the right to see her children. But then she nodded. "I need to record something," she said quietly. "Can I use the front yard?" Jasmine took her phone and a small tripod outside. I watched through the window as she set it up, adjusted the angle, brushed her hair into place. Even now, vanity lingered in her movements. But when she began recording, what I saw took me by surprise. I couldn't hear the words from inside, but I could see her tears, the way her shoulders shook, how her hands trembled as she spoke, how she stopped and started again, 4 times in total. When she finally came back in, she held out her phone. "Before I upload it, I want you to see it, so you know I kept my promise." I pressed play. On the screen, Jasmine appeared. No filters, no makeup. Just her, eyes red and voice unsteady. "Hi, everyone," she began. "I know many of you saw a video I posted 2 weeks ago. One where I mocked my mother-in-law, where I called her useless, where I said it was her duty to take care of my house and my children. She paused, inhaled shakily. That video was cruel. It was unfair, and it was a lie. My mother-in-law is not useless. She's the hardest working woman I know. She built the house we live in with her own hands. She paid for every brick by working double shifts. After becoming a widow with a small child, she raised my husband alone. And when we got married, she opened the doors of her home to us, without asking for anything in return. Her tears were falling freely now, and I repaid her with mockery, with public humiliation, with disrespect, not just in that video, but in my daily life. I treated her like she was my employee, as if she owed me something, when the truth is, I owe her everything. She wiped her face with the back of her hand. She never had the obligation to help us. Every meal she cooked, every child she watched, every space she gave up was a gift that I took, as if it were my right. And it wasn't. Her voice trembled as she continued. I'm making this video because I owe a public apology to her, and to all mothers, mothers-in-law, and grandmothers who are treated as if they were invisible, as if their work had no value, as if their sacrifice didn't matter. Her voice broke. I'm sorry. I truly am sorry, and I understand if you never forgive me. But I needed you to know, and for everyone to know, that I was wrong, completely wrong. And to all the people who applauded that video, who laughed, who commented horrible things about her, please think twice before mocking someone you don't know. Behind that mother-in-law is a story of strength, sacrifice, and love that I failed to appreciate. The video ended. I stared at the blank screen. Is it enough? Jasmine asked softly. It wasn't perfect. Some parts sounded rehearsed. But there was something real in her tears, something honest. Upload it, I said finally. She nodded, her fingers trembling as she pressed the buttons. She added the caption, the apology I should have given from the start. Then hit publish. The video appeared on her profile, visible to all 230,000 of her followers. It's up, she whispered. Ethan, who had been standing in the doorway, nodded. Now pack your things. I'll help you find an apartment this afternoon. Jasmine went upstairs without another word. An hour later, my phone started buzzing. It was Marka, my cousin. Did you see it? Your daughter-in-law's video is blowing up. Ruthie May, you're everywhere. I opened TikTok. Jasmine's video already had 50,000 views and climbing fast. The comments multiplied by the second. Wow, at least she had the guts to apologize. You don't see this every day. Respect. I wish my daughter-in-law had this humility. Plot. Twist. The mother-in-law turned out to be the hero. But there were others too. Nice video, but the damage is done. She's only apologizing because she got caught. More influencer drama for views. Within 2 hours, it hit 100,000 views. Then Marka called again. Cousin, can I tell your side of the story? People want to know what really happened. Your story deserves to be told. I hesitated. I didn't want more attention. I didn't want to expose my life again. But then I thought about all the older women treated as invisible, as burdens, as obligations. Do it, I said. But respectfully, no attacks. Just tell the truth. Marka got to work right away. That same afternoon, she uploaded her own video. Standing in her kitchen, wearing her colorful apron and her familiar warm smile, she began, Hello, family. Today I'm going to tell you a true story about a woman I've known since I was a child. My cousin, Ruthie May. And she told everything, not with gossip or full names, but with truth and heart. The story of a widow who built her home with her own hands, who raised her son with love and sacrifice, who opened her door to her daughter-in-law, who was publicly humiliated and who, in the end, defended herself with dignity and justice. This is a story about dignity, Masha said, looking straight into the camera. About knowing your worth, and about not letting anyone, not even your own family, treat you as if you're disposable. Marsha's video exploded. 1 million views in just 6 hours. The comments poured in endlessly. I cried. This is my mother's story. My grandmother went through the same thing. Thank you for giving her a voice. All mothers-in-law deserve respect. They are mothers, too. We need more stories like this, of women who don't back down. But what happened next was beyond anything I could have imagined. Other creators started responding. TikTokers, Instagrammers, people from everywhere, sharing their own stories about mistreated grandmothers and mothers, about families taking advantage, about older women reclaiming their power. Soon, Respect Your Mother-in-Law was trending. Dignity After 60 became a movement. My story, without me ever seeking it, had become a symbol. 3 days later, a reporter from a morning show called. "Mrs. Jakes, we'd like to interview you. Your story is inspiring thousands." I don't know. I hesitated. You don't have to show your face. It can be filmed from behind or with your voice altered. Whatever you prefer. But your message is changing conversations across the country. I thought about it for hours before agreeing. The interview was filmed in my living room. I sat in my navy blue armchair, my back to the camera, my voice clear and unaltered, because I realized I had nothing to hide. The reporter asked everything. How I built my home alone, how I felt about the viral videos, why I decided to take back my house, and what message I had for women in my position. "I want to tell them they are not alone," I said, looking toward the sunlight streaming through the window. "Their worth isn't defined by what they do for others, but by who they are. Being kind doesn't mean being invisible, and it is never, ever too late to reclaim your dignity." The interview aired the following Monday. Within a week, it had over 3 million views. My phone buzzed constantly. Messages from distant cousins, old neighbors, and school friends I hadn't heard from in 40 years. But one message stood out. From a woman I'd never met. "Mrs. Jakes, my name is Patricia. I'm 72 years old. I've been living with my son and daughter-in-law for 8 years. They treat me just as you described. Like I'm invisible, only useful for cleaning and watching the grandchildren. I saw your story and cried all night. But this morning I called a lawyer. I'm taking back my house. I'm taking back my life. Thank you for showing me that grandmothers have the right to be happy." I kept that message like a treasure, because at that moment, I knew that all the pain, humiliation, and struggle had been worth it. Not just for me, but for all the Patricias of the world, for all the women who once believed their sacrifices made them invisible, for those who thought it was too late to stand up for themselves. Meanwhile, Jasmine had moved into a small apartment on the north side. She took only the essentials. The children visited her on weekends. Ethan and she began couples therapy, though neither knew if the marriage would survive. But that was no longer my battle. I had fought mine, and I had won. 2 months later, the house had settled into a new rhythm. More honest, more balanced. Ethan got up early and made breakfast 3 times a week. I did it on the other days, but by choice, not obligation. On weekends, we cooked together while the children set the table. We even made a household schedule on a whiteboard in the kitchen. Monday, Ethan cleans bathrooms. I cook. Tuesday, I clean the living room. He cooks. Wednesday, we both cook, and the kids clean their room. The house was no longer a place where one person carried the weight. It had become a true home, where everyone shared in the care and love. On the first day of every month, Ethan handed me an envelope with $1,500. "It's not enough," he said once. "Let me give you more." "No," I replied. "This is symbolic. It's to remind you that living here is a privilege, not a right. And that privilege comes with responsibility and respect." He nodded, understanding at last. The children flourished in this new peace. Kyla became more talkative, Sam more confident. I taught them how to make sweet potato pies on Saturdays, how to plant herbs in the garden, and how to value what they had. "Grandma," Kyla asked one afternoon as we kneaded dough for pies, "why doesn't Mommy live here anymore?" It was the question I'd been waiting for. I sat down beside her, my hands still dusted with flour. "Sometimes adults make mistakes, my love," I said gently. "And when those mistakes are big, they need time to fix them. Your mom made mistakes with me, and with this family, and now she's working on being better." "But will she come back?" she asked. "I don't know," I admitted. "Maybe yes, maybe no. But what I do know is that you and your brother will always be loved. By your mom, your dad, and by me." She tilted her head. "Do you love us more now that Mommy isn't here?" I smiled softly. "No, my darling. I loved you the same before. The only difference is that now I have the space to show it, without being exhausted all the time." Kyla nodded thoughtfully, as if that made perfect sense. Maybe for children it did. Jasmine still came every Sunday. She'd take the children to the park, the movies, or out for lunch, always bringing them back before 6 in the evening. At first, our encounters were tense. She would arrive, pick them up, and leave without looking me in the eye. But time has a way of softening edges. One Sunday, 3 months into the arrangement, Jasmine knocked on the door instead of honking from the car. "Mrs. Jakes," she said when I opened it. Her voice was different, softer, stripped of the arrogance it once carried. "Can we talk? Just for a few minutes?" "The children can wait in the car," I nodded and stepped aside. She followed me into the living room. I sat in my navy blue armchair. She chose a wooden chair from the dining room. "I want to thank you," she began. I raised a hand to speak, but she gently stopped me. "Please, let me finish." I nodded again. "I want to thank you for not letting me get away with it," she said quietly, "for not allowing me to keep being the horrible person I was, for setting boundaries when no one else did." Her hands trembled slightly. "I've been going to therapy twice a week, and I've realized a lot of things. How I always looked for shortcuts, how I wanted everything easy, how I used people without even realizing it." "Jasmine," I started. "Please," she interrupted again, her voice breaking. I fell silent. "You didn't deserve any of what I did," she continued. "None of it. And for the longest time, I couldn't even see it. I didn't see my cruelty, my manipulation. I told myself I was smart, strategic, practical. But the truth is I was selfish and mean." A tear rolled down her cheek. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect us to be family again. But I needed you to know that what you did, standing up to me, changed my life. It forced me to look in the mirror, and I didn't like what I saw. Now, I'm trying to be someone better, someone my children can be proud of." She stood up, wiping her eyes. "That's all. I just wanted to tell you that." "Jasmine, wait," I said before she reached the door. "Grandma," Kyla had asked one afternoon while we were kneading dough for pies, "why doesn't Mommy live here anymore?" It was the question I had been waiting for. I sat down at her level, my hands still covered in dough. "Sometimes adults make mistakes, my love. And when those mistakes are big, they need time to fix them. Your mom made mistakes with me and with this family, and now she's working on being better. But will she come back? I don't know," I said softly. "Maybe yes, maybe no. But what I do know is that you and your brother will always be loved. By your mom, your dad, and me." "Do you love us more now that Mommy isn't here?" she asked with that brutal innocence only children have. "No, my darling. I loved you exactly the same before. The difference is that now I have space to show it without being exhausted all the time." She nodded as if that made perfect sense. Maybe for children it did. Jasmine still came on Sundays. She'd take the children to the park, the movies, or out to eat, always bringing them back before 6. At first, our encounters were tense. She'd arrive, pick them up, and leave without even looking me in the eye. But time softens even the hardest edges. One Sunday, 3 months later, Jasmine knocked on the door instead of honking from the car. "Mrs. Jakes," she said when I opened it. Her voice was different, softer, stripped of its usual arrogance. "Can we talk for a few minutes?" "The children can wait in the car." I let her in. We sat in the living room. Me in my old navy blue armchair, her on a wooden dining chair. "I want to thank you," she began, raising her hand as I opened my mouth. "Please, let me finish." I nodded. "I want to thank you for not letting me get away with it, for not allowing me to keep being that horrible person I was, for setting boundaries when no one else did." Her hands trembled slightly. "I've been in therapy twice a week. I realized how I always looked for shortcuts, how I used people without even knowing it. You didn't deserve any of what I did to you. None of it. And for a long time I didn't see it. My cruelty. My manipulation. I thought I was smart, strategic, practical. But I was selfish and mean. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just needed you to know that what you did changed my life. It forced me to look at myself in a mirror, and I didn't like what I saw. Now, I'm trying to be someone my children can be proud of." She stood, ready to leave. "That's all. I just wanted to tell you that." "Jasmine, wait," I said. She stopped. "Please sit down." She hesitated, then returned to the chair. "I wasn't perfect either," I said. Her eyes widened. "I made myself too small. I gave too much. I let my boundaries fade until they disappeared." "But you were just being generous," she said. "No," I replied quietly. "I was being cowardly. I was afraid that if I set boundaries, my son would leave me. That if I said no, they'd stop loving me. So I said yes to everything, until there was nothing left of me." I took a deep breath. "You took advantage of that." "Yes," she admitted softly. "But I allowed it," I continued. "That's my part of the responsibility." "That doesn't justify—" "No, it doesn't," I interrupted. "But it does explain how we got here. And if we're going to heal as a family, not like before, but as people who share grandchildren, we need to be honest about everything." Jasmine wiped her eyes. "Do you think you can ever forgive me?" I thought about it. "I don't know," I said honestly. "Forgiveness isn't a switch you flip. It's a process. But I can tell you this. I don't hold resentment anymore. I'm at peace, because what happened gave me back something I'd lost. My dignity." "I understand," she whispered. "And one more thing," I added. "I've seen how you are with the children now. More present, more attentive. That means something. Keep going, for them and for yourself." She nodded, unable to speak, then stood and hugged me. A brief, genuine hug. "Thank you," she said, "for everything, even the hard stuff." When she left with the children, I stayed in the quiet living room, wondering, had I really forgiven her? Or had I simply let go of the anger? Maybe both. Perhaps forgiveness isn't about forgetting or pretending nothing happened. Maybe it's just deciding the pain no longer controls you. The evening light fell softly across the backyard. I poured myself a cup of coffee and sat on the concrete bench beneath the lemon tree I'd planted 37 years ago. Its branches hung heavy with bright yellow fruit. I thought about everything. The video, the humiliation, the plan, the confrontation, the separation, the story that went viral. And I realized I hadn't just won my house. I had won my voice. For decades, I had stayed silent, believing love meant yielding, disappearing. But now I knew better. Loving meant boundaries. Loving meant respect, both ways. Loving meant knowing when to fight and when to let go. My phone buzzed with a new message. "Mrs. Jakes, my name is Elena. I saw your interview 2 months ago. Today I signed the deed to my house in my own name. My son can no longer threaten to kick me out of the home I bought. Thank you for teaching me it's never too late to take back what's yours. God bless you." I smiled and saved the message among hundreds of others. From women like Patricia, Elena, Rosa, and Mara, each one finding strength in my story to finally write their own. That was my true inheritance, not the $450,000 house, but the certainty that my life had served a purpose greater than myself. Ethan came out to the patio. "Mom, are you okay?" "Yes, son. I'm more than okay." He sat beside me on the bench. "Do you know what day it is today?" I frowned. "It's not anyone's birthday. Not an anniversary, either. What day is it?" "It's exactly 3 months since everything changed," he said quietly. "Since you took back your house. Since I took back my mother." He took my hand. "These have been the hardest 3 months of my life. The divorce, the therapy, realizing who my wife really was. But they've also been the best because I got to see you again. The real you, not the one who made herself small, but the warrior you've always been. Ethan, let me finish," he said, smiling. I chuckled softly. "You sound just like Jasmine when you do that." We laughed together and he continued. "I want you to know that I'm proud of you, not just for what you did, but for how you did it, with dignity. You didn't destroy anyone unnecessarily. You even gave Jasmine a chance to redeem herself." "Everyone deserves second chances," I said. "Yes," he agreed, "but not everyone takes them. I think Jasmine is trying. I don't know if our marriage will survive. Honestly, I don't think it will. But at least now we're honest. And that's better than the comfortable lie we were living." We sat in silence for a while, watching the sun sink behind the trees. "Mom, I have something for you," Ethan said, taking an envelope from his pocket. "What's this?" "Open it." Inside was a legal document. I read it carefully. It was a formal waiver from Ethan, renouncing any claim to the house. He, acknowledged that it was mine and mine alone, and that he would never seek to inherit or claim it while I was alive. "Ethan, you don't have to—" "Yes, I do," he said firmly. "I need you to know that I'm staying here because you allow me to, not because I have a right to. And if someday you decide you want your space back, I'll respect that without question." Tears welled in my eyes, but I held them back. "You're my son. This house will always be your home. But thank you for understanding and for teaching me what it truly means to be a man. It's not about protecting your comfort. It's about protecting the people you love, even when it means facing hard truths." That night, after putting the children to bed, I sat in my bedroom, the master bedroom, my bed, my vanity, my view of the yard. I took out my old notepad, the one filled with years of scribbles and confessions, and wrote, "Today, I understood that true wealth is not in what you possess, but in what you refuse to let be taken from you. Don't let anyone take your voice, your dignity, your right to exist fully in your own life, because once you reclaim those things, no house, no money, no comfort compares to the peace of knowing you are whole." I closed the notepad, turned off the light, and slept deeply, without nightmares, without worries, without fear. Because finally, after 68 years, I had learned the most important lesson. You are not old. You are not useless. You are not invisible. You are a woman who built empires with her hands, who loved with all her heart, who fell but rose again. A woman who was humiliated but never destroyed. A woman who proved, once and for all, that grandmothers are not made of glass. We are made of steel. If this story touched your heart, I want you to know something. You are not alone. Whether you're living something similar, know someone who is, or simply felt seen. In these words, remember this. It is never too late to reclaim your dignity. It is never too late to set boundaries. It is never too late to remind yourself and the world who you truly are. No matter your age, no matter how long you've been silenced, no matter how many times they made you feel invisible, you remain whole. You remain valuable. You remain powerful. Let me know in the comments where you're watching this story from. Did you identify with anything Ruthie Mae went through? I would love to read your story too. And if this story moved something inside you, give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Here we share real stories of real women who refuse to be invisible, because our stories matter, our voices matter, and most importantly, we matter. Until the next story, my friends. And remember, grandmothers don't surrender. Grandmothers reclaim. Did you like my story? If you listened till the end, drop a 1 in the comments. If you enjoyed it, please support me by liking the video or sending a small tip. It really helps. I've got many more life stories like this on my channel, so make sure to subscribe and check them out. 2 new stories are already on screen, and trust me, you'll love them. Thanks for being here. See you in the next one. With love.